it. So there we go. Now it's recording. So now I actually can have some sort of a VOD for this.
Excellent.
Well, welcome. It has been a while indeed. I've really only got about 45 minutes today. I got to run off and do Mother's Day stuff with my mom. But I, for better or worse, have made a stupid decision to try to get some sort of a MISC Fury model done before the end of Invictus. Just into the guys that it's a simple model, and I air quotes simple because no model is simple. In reality, it's the curse of models. You look at something and you're like, oh, that's simple. That'll take me like a day to do, and then it takes you like 3 weeks.
Unexpected things happen, right? So,
it's just
especially you haven't modeled in a couple days, you know.
I don't know. I for better or worse, like as my career in making models has gone on, I put more and more not gonna say effort, but I put more and more like perfectionism into it, and that fails me a lot because that means that model drags out and I don't get stuff done very quickly.
Fair enough. Look at all those little angles and corners there around the cockpit. That'll be fun. Yeah.
So here's kind of my. So first things first. I'm realizing that I didn't bring the engines in, so I'll have to do that off stream. I'm not going to do that now because that'll be boring as hell. Actually, and I need to open up this one as well. No, not that one. Which dock is it? There we go. So my thinking with this is that, like, the first thing that comes to mind is the idea that this center section, because it's cylindrical and really detailed, would just be all 3D printed. And then the wings up here, so they're relatively flat with these kind of offshoots that come up and make like a bulkier inner wing. So first things first is so the majority of the stream is just going to be me pulling the model apart, which is why I have the model tree on the side, because it's literally going to be a boring stream of me just going through and grouping things. Because what I need to do is I hate this landed mode look, like it looks dumb. I really need to get it to where the wings are out in the flight mode. Because that's what I want the model to be, is I want the model to be in flight mode. And so I need to go through this and I need to pull it apart. So for example, like right now, I already have this wing in its own group. And because this wing's in its own group, I can essentially now, this model is going to go a little bit slow. I did not optimize it. I can do whatever the hell I want with that wing. And so what I need to do is I need to group all 4 wings, and then I also need to group the arm mechanisms here, so that I can essentially position everything in the model where it would be in flight mode.
Okay.
And I have been spending way too much time in another CAD program, so my ability to move through this model may be a little clunky.
Question. Now, I guess we haven't seen the actual thing fly yet.
Well,
rumors that those wings move a bit. Is that a thing, or is that the final look of it when it's in flight too?
No. So if you look at any of the photos that have been, let's just say photos that have been leaked, that were rendered by CIG, the wings fold out, so the profile of this is much flatter. Like this wing is, so the wing that I have pulled off now, so this wing probably ends up being like right here.
Oh, okay.
And all the wings do that, which gives it this much nicer, like much flatter, much nicer profile in my opinion.
Looks more like
And I get why they. I can reason why they do that. So the idea being that in this position right now, which is the landed position, so something I noticed was that the bottom engines, which is why the hoop on the top where the engine is pointed backwards, but the hoop on the bottom is pointed this way, which means they point down.
Yeah.
Is because when you go into landing mode, the bottom engines become VTOL thrusters.
That's what I noticed that too. I thought that was a very smart way of doing the engines. Now I know one of the roadmap techs they're working on is making all these type of engines rotatable within the actual. Like they're supposed to rotate properly with the body, so they make them a lot more nimble with the. I think it's the Shontaki and the other ships like that.
Yeah,
including these, so they'll eventually be maneuverable, which will be really nice instead of just kind of a fixed direction.
Yeah,
so
I think. I mean. Yeah, I think that it's. I don't know if they'll because if you look at the geometry here, like it's very clear that these kind of engine cowlings are only pinned in this axis. I don't think they have the ability to move like 360 degrees. I think they can just so they can spin 300 and they can spin theoretically 360 degrees, but only in this axis. So really this engine can only point backwards, point down, point up, or point
yeah forward. So they're not a full open engine, but they have some freedom of
that's my guess based on kind of what I'm seeing. Because this engine's obviously pointed 90 degrees, but it's pointed down, so you just don't know what. I mean, I'm assuming based on kind of the mechanical language of what I'm seeing, this is what it's going to be. But I think it's going to be a fun ship. Like, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it has a huge cockpit, a very visible out cockpit. I haven't sat in the one in PTU yet. Have you sat in it yet?
Yes, I have. Both of them are pretty cool. The one with the missiles that has the blast shield is really cool. You can open and close the blast shield.
I was gonna ask about that. Like, it has that really cool kind of sci-fi-ish anime look where it's like an enclosed cockpit, but there's a bunch of cameras on the outside.
Yeah, so that tech wasn't on the ship. Like the cameras were there, but it didn't act like the prowlers or the talons when you. Oh, really? It didn't. I don't know if that's just been deactivated or if that's not done yet. I'm not sure, but it didn't do that for when I sat in it, anyways. So.
But could you see out of it?
No.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't powered up, is what you're saying.
I had the power on. I don't know if they're still working on that or what, but maybe it was just bugged, possibly. So
I could see that.
It was still. The idea is there, so.
Yeah, no, I mean that can make sense. I mean, cool if they do that. I think more stuff should do that, and it seems like that anime-ish sci-fi camera mode thing right now is very much a reserved for alien stuff at the moment. It seems like I don't think we've seen any sort of non-glass cockpitted
civilian or
UE military ship at this point. So
not yet.
That's kind of what I can assume.
I wonder if, like, in lore they have some agreement with the UEE that they can't use that technology with their ships. That's kind of one of their peace treaties or something like that. Like, that's like I wonder if that's a thing or if it's just the human manufacturers haven't just chosen to go on that route because it's not what they like.
I mean, I could make the argument that the glass cockpit for humans could be a cheaper solution, a better visual solution. But the other thing is that it's I just entirely lost my train of thought. I had a good point about it, and then it just left my brain. I was thinking something to the effect of like it might be just preference you know, like you get this in human history where, you know,
Yeah.
you have weapons of war, and if you look at the lineage of things that they, you know, the lineage of design of weapons of war, you'll get some countries that start to favor, you know, certain design aesthetics, certain design ethos than others.
Yep. And even through,
You
say,
know.
their concepts, like that you'll see some really futuristic looking ship or vehicle, and then it never turns out that way because they're like, yeah, this isn't really where we're, you know, like the new T-14 Armada Russian tank is kind of an example of that. It's supposed to be futuristic looking, and but I don't see them sticking to that because it's not what their industry's set up for, designing stuff like that, right?
Sure.
So it might just be I don't know, an R&D thing. They want to see how it goes, where it goes, but
I mean, yeah. I mean, the other thing is, like, you look at armor. You know, high-tech armors are often not super thick compared to lower tech armors, and so you run into this thing where, like, you look at a lot of older, like, Soviet tanks to where they're pretty beefy. Like, they have a lot of armor on them, but to a certain degree, some of that is because of the fact that the armor technology with Soviet tanks didn't advance at the rate that it did in other countries, and therefore you have this
because they can't make stronger steel thinner or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, I mean, in terms of armor, it just becomes more of, like, management of what happens, you know, energy dispersion. So, you know, the quicker you can break up the bullet, the less energy that each of the shards has, as opposed to it remaining whole, which is why you get a lot of like ceramics and woven, you know, like Kevlar and whatnot.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
But yeah, so I think that, and I think that at least this being MISC and having those kind of, what, APOA, like...
APOA technology.
Like corporate technology sharing and whatnot, you know, just because you quote-unquote have alien tech on your ship doesn't necessarily mean it's the best available.
Yeah, like that could be their old tech that they're willing to, you know, give out. Like, you don't see, so when the United States sells Abram tanks to other countries, they don't sell the newest variant with the armor, special armor that they have on it. They sell the last generation variant that doesn't have, or they strip that armor off because you know, they, for the same reason, like, this alien company probably doesn't sell them the best engine tech because, well, why would they? You know, like, don't figure allies or enemies the best of anything.
So my one comment against that would be the idea that in space it might be different because on Earth you're close to your enemies.
Yeah.
Which means that, you know, it's very possible you could trade. We could give Canada Abrams tanks, and then next year the great American-Canadian wars could start, and that's a real. I mean, that is a possibility, like full air quotes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's.
But when you're in space, I don't know if that's different to where you go, well, if APOA partners with MISC and just gives them, like, the best tech that they have because they're getting paid a metric ton of money, why would APOA care if MISC is some corporation like 30 jumps away from where the Xi'an are?
That's actually fair. That changes a lot of yeah.
Because the other thing you have to realize is that in space, it's like, okay, well, just because we gave, like, our best maneuvering engine, our best light fighter maneuvering engine tech to MISC, it doesn't. We could give MISC the technology that is 4 billion years ahead of where we are now, but it doesn't matter because they jump in with one javelin, and you're like, okay, well, the light fighters are they're always going to be crap against a javelin, you know? It feels like if there was going to be any of that, like, we're not going to give you the very best, it would probably, that policy would probably be reserved for weapons of space war that actually made a difference in the grand scheme of things.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because like all that stuff is kind of disposable. Like those light fighters, that's meant to take up resources that would be used to take out your heavier equipment. Right? Like, you know, for example, like you're having an air battle, you know, with, I don't know, say China invades Australia, right? Australia they have F-35s, but they still have some F-18s. F-18s would get there first. That would take up some of the Chinese missiles and resources to destroy them, so that when the F-15s show up, because they're stationed farther away, they now have an advantage, a bigger advantage, less high-tech missiles coming in. So yeah, it makes sense, right? Like, like a cannon fodder in a sense. I've
always thought the one kind of, at least in my mind, it seems like a high-profile United States and technology thing was the F-22 Raptor. Like it's always felt like a weird one to me, because like even now we don't sell the F-22 Raptor, and that plane's like what, 20 years old or 20 plus? I don't know how old it is, but I mean I think it's like 20 years old now.
2005 is when it become like, I think like there was a couple of squadrons of them. So 1999, 1998 is when they had a couple, you know, variants they were testing out. I think 2001, 2002 is when they finally started making them. So yeah, it's about 20 years old now.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
okay,
old,
yeah, back in the day, sure, but like I just have a hard time imagining that plane. I have a hard time imagining that plane even now still contains like secrets that nobody else has figured out. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm totally wrong. You know, maybe they're just, because of how the industry works. You know, you can't sell them last generations because the production line has already tooled up for the newest revision of the plane, so it would be very inefficient to produce both versions. But yeah, I don't know, it's the F-22 has always been a weird one, but at the same time I recognize that air superiority is a major thing in modern combat, and so, you know, keep a tight leash on your planes, I guess.
Yeah, well, and so I watched this YouTube channel called Grim Reapers. They do a lot of testing of
and DCS or whatever.
Yeah, so but like they test, they have the F-22 and F-35 in there, and from what they have, what they know of, the F-22 still has a smaller cross section than the F-35, which is crazy. It's still more stealthy than the F-35 is, even in its most stealthy configuration. And so that's interesting, but also too, the F-22 is a air superiority fighter, whereas the F-35 is a multi-role fighter.
True.
Which is more
gotta replace that F-15, which is a very hard task.
Oh man, yeah. See though, that's the thing. Like if you watch some of their videos, I know it's just simulation, but those older jets get chewed up pretty quickly when they're facing equal components of, you know, if anything slightly better, you'll have a giant no man's land, and if you have more missiles, it's kind of it's an interesting.
I mean, there's I mean, to a certain degree, there is a bit of a, almost seems like there's a bit of a rock paper scissors aspect of it.
Yep.
Just under the guise that it's like, well, you know, there could be a leap in technology that is so good in specific situations that it's kind of like an instant win. It reminds me of a video that I saw a couple of years ago, and there was some, I think it was like from an F-14 where I want to say this was in maybe the Middle East, maybe Asia, I forget. And it was like an F-14 that was tailing, I want to say like a MiG-21, like an old MiG-21 fish bed. And the F-14 had it on its like tracking camera display. I forget what the system's called. And all you see is the F-22 going along, and then the missile from the F-14 just whoop, and just explodes it into a billion pieces. And one of the comments I saw was like, the MiG-21's tech inside of it was probably old enough to where it never knew that there was a missile coming for it, and so the guy just evaporated without knowing a single thing, or without knowing that it was going to happen. So it's just, and that's the difference in like what 30 years of technology. Whenever the MiG-21 came out, I want to say what, the 60s.
You know, that's kind of, it's funny too, because like the F-22 is getting old, and it's still must have. It's crazy to think though. Like the United States only made 100 and some of them, but like, yeah, it's getting old. It needs to be retired soon, but I don't know if there's anything better. It's like,
I mean, the one thing I will say is that we have this weird. We live in modern times, and I would say, you know, a majority of people don't want war. We don't care for war. Like,
yeah,
the majority of humanity is connected now to where, like, when conflicts arise, like take the Ukraine-Russia war, for example. It's like, it's very clear that people, unlike what 100 years ago, 80 years ago, you know, World War I, World War II, people now have more disdain explicitly for governments, not people.
yeah.
So it's very easy to, because I can sit here and say, it's like, I don't hate the Russian people. Like, I think the Russian government has done terrible things, but the Russian people are great people, you know, and you know, is a majority, you know, in the majority. And I can say that for like the Chinese people. I think the Chinese government has done terrible things. I think the U.S. government has done terrible things too. But in terms of the people, you know, the majority of the people that live in those countries are great people. You know, they have their own culture. They just want to live their lives, be prosperous, and, you know, have a good time. And it's in the modern age, when it comes to war, and to try to loop full circle with this entire discussion, was this idea that we won't get technological advancements in weapons of war often come about because of war. And so there's this balance of, if you are not actively partaking in war, it's very possible that your wartime technology falls behind because you don't necessarily have that immediate incentive to quote unquote get better.
Absolutely.
So it's very interesting to sit on kind of the outside and look in and be like, you know, countries that either don't have like the GDP, don't have, you know, the government finance, don't have the connections, you know, fall behind. I mean, massive air quotes here, you know, and it ultimately becomes this like, well, where's the line? You know, where's the correct line of, you're not in wartime and nobody wants this war, but you still kind of have to prepare for the eventuality that someone else is going to want, you know, your stuff.
Yeah. You know,
I want your Star citizenships, therefore I'm going to wage war on the entire country of France.
Gosh, poor guy. No, that's true. Circling back a little bit with what you were saying, like 100 years ago, people didn't understand other cultures around the world. So like, World War I, World War II, there was a hatred for all the Russian people or all the whatever, the bad guys. It's like, oh, I hate all of them. It's like, but why? They didn't know. They just that's how they felt. Now it's like you said, everybody's connected. It's like I have no reason to hate those people. They haven't done anything bad to me. They're just like us, trying to live their lives. Like,
I mean, the other interesting thing is, like, you go back and look at, like, American World War II propaganda, and it's very, I mean, it's very clear, like, that it was propaganda. I mean, obviously, there are parts about America's involvement in World War II that were a necessity based on actions of other countries, but at the same time, it can't be denied that a lot of the sentiment in America was driven by, you know, some sort of a propaganda machine.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, look at Pearl Harbor. Look at Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean, even as a person living in America, like, Hawaii is so far away that, to a certain degree, I would find it hard to explicitly care about what happens in Hawaii. Like, I don't get any Hawaiian news. I don't hear when their crime rates go up. I don't hear when the sharks are, you know, infesting Hawaiian waters. Like, I don't get any of that, you know.
Yeah.
And that has got to be the same with back in the 40s, you know. The people wouldn't explicitly care about Hawaii, and so, you know, if something bad like that happened at Hawaii, and I'm not saying that, you know, Pearl Harbor wasn't a terrible thing, you know, I feel like that without the propaganda machine, the support for that kind of a war may have had a slower start.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
But, I mean, obviously, you know, America had to respond, and, you know, I think more so then than now, you know, there had to be public support for it.
Yeah. It's hard to sell wars. Technology, on the other hand, everybody loves new technology.
I mean, I think it's easy to sell war if you can sell the fear of it. You know. Well, yeah. Sorry. Take it back. I think it's easy to sell war as long as you can sell the fear of the enemy.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just hard to do. I don't understand how over in Europe right now, what's going on? It's like that's got to be the hardest propaganda for both sides to do, like, to convince. I mean, less so for the Ukrainians because they're just pissed off and they want to fight back. But like, can you imagine how hard it is for Russia to encourage people to go fight in Ukraine? Like, that's like their brothers and sisters. They're like related. It's like, man, that's gonna be really hard. Like,
yeah, like,
holy shit. That would be like Canada and the United States fighting. It'd be like trying to convince me to go attack your city and fight you. It's like, no, thank you. I'm good. I don't want to. I like my friends there. I'm good.
I was just imagining myself like, no, I don't want to go fight Canada. And then they're like, we'll give you some land in Banff, and I'm like, sold. Sign me up.
Sold. See, but that's what they would have to do.
Yeah.
So what are you doing here with it's looking like a sardine tube now?
I'm just so again, I'm doing the really, really boring thing, which is I'm having to go through every piece of this model and basically sort it into its groupings so that I can move the wings into the position they need to be in.
Nice. So now, are these wings exactly the same?
Side to side, yes. I think top to bottom, no.
Okay,
I'd have to look.
Each, right? Like, you can do one of each and then flip it, or?
When I finish sorting this one, I'll put them back on and I'll take a look and see. I don't actually know if they're the same. I would assume they're not. Although I guess so with like the Scorpius, the wings top to bottom are not the same. So the wings are the same, but the engines are not, because the bottom engines carry the lower landing gear cowling.
Okay, yeah.
And so, but I mean, they're the same everything else, but the engine, the landing gear cowling does not causes like a bump out portion in part of the engine cowling on the bottom one. So,
okay.
Let's see.
I'm just wondering, like, when you actually go to model it out, like how, like, you're gonna have to do every single wing itself. Because sometimes you.
I mean, it's very possible I might be able to get. I mean, I'll probably use it as the base for the other wing and just make the modifications.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I need to figure out. So what I'm thinking is I might actually do the wings out of a majority out of carbon fiber. And
that looks really sick, actually.
Yeah, and then machine into them the like the pockets and whatnot. Because I can't do that with the wood. Like with the carbon fiber, I can do various levels in it, which will probably look really good.
Yeah, I think so.
But with the wood, it wouldn't. So I don't know. I'll see what shakes out. But I'm thinking that might be the direction I go.
I'm not opposed to that. A wood body with carbon fiber, that's gonna be cool.
Well, so the body I'm thinking is probably going to be a majority 3D printed, just because it. I mean, look at all the detail on it.
Well, that's what I was saying when you first loaded it up. I'm like, that's insane. All those angles. Can you get down to those sizes, or?
I mean, like they're like my mind immediately goes to where are objects that are flat that could be wood. So like. Whatever the hell this thing is right here, like this could be a piece of wood. You know, it could be a piece of wood and attach to the side of this and add an element. And I'm gonna delete this. So something to realize when you look at this model is that you'll see a lot of elements like this. So this like flat shape that's just bolted on the side. So my understanding is that these are all like places where textures are added. So if I get rid of this, I mean, you know, it just leaves the body underneath. So I think these are either like emitters or decals or something of the sort, because I've cross-referenced with pictures of the ships before, like this piece right here that runs like around this corner. It's just a surface level object, but I believe this is probably some sort of a sticker or something.
Okay, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense.
There's a geometry error here. Oh no, it's not a geometry. Well, it's a geometry error with whatever this sticker is. Because it departs from the model. It's not going to be worth the purchase price. Clearly.
Drew, you should see if Chris Roberts will hire you. Be like, hey, Chris.
That would be a career change.
Wouldn't it? I mean, you could do it though. Like you could, because that's your engineering. You do small parts. Like you're like a precision engineer, right? So that has value in creating realistic in-game ships.
True.
Just saying. It's not a huge stretch of, you know, when you get old and you can't, you know, you need a wheelchair. This would be a good job for you. When we're in beta 1.0, like it'll be great.
Oh shoot. Okay. Let me delete that. This stuff. I know I'm going like super slow on this, just because I'm getting mentally distracted.
All right, I'll let you focus for a minute here.
No, that's fine. I
mean, I stare at the beauty of the ship.
What's left of it on my screen?
Yeah, it looks like what happens when you spawn a ship in a broken server. Just parts of the
True.
There you go. Ship is done.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of work lately on my own kind of IP.
Okay. Yep.
So I would love to find some time later this year to pick that kind of back up more. Come on, stop this.
Taking a step away from the beer carriers and working on.
Well, I mean, so the problem with the beer carriers is that they're not financially viable. Like they're just too expensive to have widespread appeal, and so I have avenues to fix that. It's just I'm not sure they're really what I want to do long term. Like I'm going to continue to poke at them, but I don't and continue to develop them, but I don't think, like I said, they're what I want to do long term and put like a ton of effort into, just because I don't think that I don't know. I don't see them as a super viable product just from a cost and what I would need to invest in like advertising, because it feels more like I would be relying more on the that kind of new age marketing and advertising, you know, like hymns, or, you know, it's something that you would find like a podcaster shilling kind of thing, just because again, it pushes itself into the realm of like a luxury product. It's not something you need, you know. I'm not selling you like macaroni and cheese.
Can you imagine being like on Jeff Rogan's or something show, like sponsor a couple of his episodes, how expensive that would be, but how many people would buy those? I think you would sell. True. So, but you wouldn't be able to make them though. That's the problem. You'd be like, I have an order for 30,000. I don't know what to do.
I mean, I would.
China. I need a Chinese company to make them.
It's not. I mean, we say that, but in reality, like, cost for cost with the product, as long as I had good quality control over my product,
you'd have to go over there and inspect every one, I think.
Yeah, or I hire someone over there to inspect. Like,
that's somebody who actually cares.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I would have to hire someone to care.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, somebody has to care.
Because the manufacturer, I mean, especially for someone like me that doesn't have like a large appeal, isn't a large corporation, isn't going to have the pull to really kind of enforce like good quality control. So
no, yeah,
but I don't know. I mean,
still a fun idea though.
Yeah, but I think for now, I think for the summer, I'd like to find the time to kind of develop my own stuff more and just kind of see where it can go. Because like, even if it doesn't go anywhere, there's just a couple models that I've been sketching and brainstorming and developing for a while now that I would love to see become reality.
You gotta scratch those itches sometimes.
Yep. Just need more time.
Time, my good sir.
Hopefully I'm not in my split consciousness right now making sorting mistakes, because that would
oh no, that would suck so bad.
Yeah,
to start all over.
Like, well, I wouldn't have to start over. I just have to figure out where. I have the other wing. Hooray!
Yeah, for me, I'd be like, you know what? I don't know where I messed up. I'm just starting over. If I'm not too far, like there's a threshold where I would want to start over.
All right, so the other wing is moved out. Good. So let's grab these hydraulics. So it rotates here, and I don't know what the heck's going on. Like, it's very clear that this clips into this bodywork. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I mean, it ends right there. I would assume it. So there's a rotation point here, but I don't know. And I'm assuming this rotate. Well, this is the hinge point. It's down. This is the hinge point for the wing.
Yeah, so it has to move down. Like, I see the bottom left there. It moves there, but I don't see.
You know, I'm gonna keep you because you're gonna be a. You're not. Yeah, you can be a rotation point. Well, I'm gonna try to isolate this then and see. Please tell me I sliced it in half. Dang it!
I saw this boat in half.
I sawed this MISC Fury in half.
There you go. Just
let me see if I can pull
break
this
duct
thing
tape
apart.
and slap it together.
Let me see if I can pull this thing apart without absolutely destroying this model.
Drake flex tape would work.
So how many of these are you gonna buy? 10, 20, 50,000?
Just one.
I mean, in reality, like I need to go sit in one and see what I think, because my mind immediately went to the idea that I would probably just get the Fury and be done with it. But you know, there's a chance that I might like the missile one as well. I don't know.
That's the one I'm going for. I'm going straight for the missile one. Just because
don't...
I look at it as a fighter, you jump in, you go get the job done, and you come back quick. Like, I'm not looking at it as a fighter that I'm going to be in for more than 5-10 minutes at a time. It's just I'm going to dump the load of missiles and come back.
Yeah, like, although I mean, like,
how I look at it. So
I don't know. For me, I like my stubs to be somewhat useful, like useful from a
like
transportation standpoint, and I feel like the missiles kind of just makes it less viable as a like, oh, I flew down to the surface and then I got jumped by somebody and now I'm in a skirmish and now I have to defend myself and oh no, I'm out of missiles. Well, that's the end of me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point.
But I don't know. Maybe I'll like it. You know, maybe I'm just sitting here espousing and you know you're gonna talk to me in 2 weeks and I'll be like, yeah, I bought like four the missile ones.
I'm kind of impressed with CIG. Also kind of weirded out with the fact that they're selling 4 ships for under $100 this sale. Like, that's so unlike them. Like, it's always like there's a small, medium, and a large expensive ship, like catered to everybody. So it's different to see. Like, every ship, the tank will be under. I mean, the tank is going to be under $100 easily because it's a light tank, and then you got the Lynx rover, which should be under, you know, $60 probably.
Yeah.
And then you got the 2 Furies, which might be $40. 50 maybe. I don't think anybody's gonna buy them if they're like $50. Like they're almost like disposable fighters.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna put effort into going to get one if you lose it. Like, oh, it crashed, but it's still okay. I'm not gonna go waste 2 hours to go pick it up and just go buy a new one. Like, it doesn't seem like something to do with that.
I can't tell if this bump is. I'm assuming this bump is part of the ship body because it kind of looks like it. It's just like this. So if you look at the other ram.
Yeah.
Okay. So and I figured out my rotation points. So there's a. Whoops.
Does CIG ever just put shit anywhere for no reason? Like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean that's like.
Bump for.
I mean that's the idea of. Greebles, whatever it's called, where it's like you'll put, you know, I mean, nobody is being paid to figure out like, you know, what explicitly this like eye bolt is, or this like mounting point is for. Like, obviously, it could be for like hanging the ship and doing maintenance on it, but at the same time, you know, what if, you know, where's the other point? Like, how does it work? You know, nobody's being paid to figure that out. And so this is just kind of, it's just fluff. Like, it serves no purpose for the game other than, like, visually making the ship look more like something real.
That's fair, yeah.
So, but yeah, so, but I think I found, so there's 2 rotating points. So there's this tube right here. And then there's this tube right here, and so I'm gonna have to figure out, or I'm gonna have to rotate this entire assembly on itself, and see if I can't figure out how to get the wings down. But that shouldn't take too long. So, it has been 45 minutes, and therefore I will have to call it quits for today, because I have to go do Mother's Day stuff, and that is top priority.
Absolutely.
You should all go spend time with your mothers. Take that as a RiceMaiden top tip. Spend time with your mothers today.
Good stream, Drew. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, popping that, getting back into the swing of things. I'd really like to bring this model to completion. I don't think it's super complex, and you know, I don't think it's gonna be a huge project. So, so hopefully, yeah, I can work on it over the course of this week, and you know, have something done by ILW.
That will be really cool to see. I think it'll be showcase that. And I'm sure there'll be some sort of event where they'll give prizes out. Maybe you'll get back in the limelight again.
Hey, if they do a photo contest, I'll build a couple of these and go fly them around the backyard.
Absolutely. All right, Drew, you have a good afternoon.
Yeah, you have a good one too, and everyone who's watching, you guys have a great one, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Bye.